YouTube, we are ready when you are.
Okay. I'll call this meeting of the Seward City Council to order. It's Monday, June 23rd, 2025, and it's 7 p.m. Chief, would you please lead us in the pledge?
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Mr. Clerk, would you please call the roll?
Roll call for tonight's meeting. Finch. Here. Osenga. Here. Warner.
Here.
Wells. Here. Barnwell. Here. Kreitz.
Here.
And Mayor McClure.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Thank you. We have no proclamations tonight. We're at citizen comments, and this is the 3-minute time. If you've signed in, you get first shot, and if not, I'll take shows of hands. And you'll have 3 minutes, and we have a 36-minute total, but by the looks of how many people are here, we might not use that whole time. Mr. Clerk, has anyone signed in?
There are 2 people signed in to speak.
Okay.
First on the list is Porter Wilkinson.
So what we need you to do when you come and sit there is just tell your name and if you live inside the city limits or not. And then you can say what you got to say, okay?
My name is Porter Wilkerson.
There you go, professional.
My name is Porter Wilkerson. I live in city limits, and I want more funding for the school library and theater and play, and the pool, because I've heard that it's getting shut down for the next school year, and the library is like my favorite thing in school.
Okay, thank you, Porter. And who else do we have, Mr. Clerk?
Amanda Sweeting.
Probably still the same height. Hi, my name is Amanda Sweeting. I live outside of city limits. I'm here with the Chamber of Commerce today, per usual. And I just want to remind everyone about, obviously, the parade. Sign up if you haven't yet. We have the boat parade and the float parade. I know, very confusing, but the float is the car one and the boat is the boat one. Also, on our website, we do have the schedule of events and the game schedules published. And there's some fun games. Ron and Russ from Sports Rec are the game chair, so you know they're going to be really fun, and so go out and play some games. We have the race guide coming out. They'll be dropping this week. I have some printed versions for you guys. I just dropped a pack off at Res Art, and 4th of July is just around the corner, and we're excited to see you guys there. That's it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And is there anyone else, anyone else out there that would like to speak at this 3-minute time? Come on up.
Christine Casagranda, inside city limits. I am here to discuss or speak on item 10C under new business, that you guys will be discussing the developer reimbursement program application process. And I was on council when the developer reimbursement program first started, and it was a developing program, and still to this day I feel like it's still a developing program. I currently am working as the consulting firm, a consulting agency that is currently the project manager for the Mount Alice Estates subdivision across the bay. We have a total of 15 lots that we are going to open up to the market once the road, electricity, light posts, and all the other things that the city has required of the subdivision. It's a really big project, and the owner is taking it on herself, as we were we are not aware of any opportunities to submit an application at this time. It's my understanding that there really is no set time, or like, we don't know when the funds will be there. We know approximately when the funds will be there, and then we also don't know if there's an actual application process. So what I would like to encourage council to please consider is that when somebody has a project for development, they can fill out an application at any time and submit it. And then you guys will be aware when you have all these applications come across your dais, oh, this guy applied in 2022, this guy applied in 2023, this guy just applied. You know what the projects are, and it just seems more transparent and an easier process. It just feels like there's a lot that's still growing and changing right now, and it would just be really nice if that was just really lined out. We have an estimate right now to install the electricity, not meters to each lot, but just to get the electricity run, for $93,000. We only budgeted for 45 to 50, as that was what Kari, bless her heart, she was just throwing out numbers, but then once they got everything itemized and they gave us the actual bill, it was a lot more expensive than they had anticipated, and $40,000 would be really, really helpful for our project. And to wait until we don't know when to find out if maybe we could get the funds really holds up our project. And also, I only have 3 seconds, I'd like to say that Chris and his office is absolutely amazing, and I hope you guys will all agree in your evaluation. Thank you.
Thank you. This might be addressed in later time. Anyone else out there that wants to speak right now? Okay, seeing none, I'll move on to the approval of the agenda and consent agenda, and I'd ask for a motion to approve in a second, please.
I'll move for the approval of tonight's agenda and consent agenda.
I'll second it.
Okay, moved and seconded. Are there any changes anyone wants to make? Okay, seeing none, Mr. Clerk, we're ready.
Voting on the approval of tonight's agenda and consent agenda, Osenga,
Yes.
Finch,
Yes.
Barnwell,
Yes.
Kreitz,
Yes.
Warner,
Yes.
Wells,
Yes.
and Mayor McClure.
Yes.
Your agenda and consent agenda have been approved, and on the consent agenda is the approval of the June 9th, 2025 City Council meeting minutes, the introduction of Ordinance 2025-010, amending Seward City Code 15.10.220 and Table 15.10.222, development requirements regarding the language and regulations pertaining to building height, and lastly, Resolution 2025-061, recommending council to accept and appropriate funds from the Alaska Historic Preservation Fund, HPF-CLG Grant 24007, for the Hoban Park Restoration Project, sponsored by the Seward Historic Preservation Commission and City Manager.
Okay, thank you. That brings us to the City Manager report, Madam City Manager, and you can find this on page 32 of the packet if you have that.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. One thing I'd like to highlight right off the top is we recently posted on Facebook, and we'll be getting more information out there, but the City of Seward Water Department is conducting a water service line lead survey, and we need the community's help. You can locate your water service line, identify the pipe material, take a quick photo, and submit your findings, which will help us build a safer lead-free system for everybody. And so we'll get some more word out there about that in the coming days, but just to give everybody a heads up that if you know where your water service line is and want to snap a quick photo and send it to our Public Works Department, that would be really helpful. Looking forward to the 4th of July, we are going to stand up our Level 1 Emergency Operations Center, and this is a really great opportunity for us to do a dry run practice session of what an Emergency Operations Center stand-up is like in a busy weekend for our community. So we're excited about giving that a trial run, and a big thank you to Jason and our 2 chiefs for working together to get that all squared away. And I think the last thing I wanted to highlight from the City Manager report is that we will be sending out our RFP for AMI metering really soon, and I know that's been a lot of topics of conversations in the community, so we're really excited to continue moving forward with that.
Okay, thank you. Jason, do you have anything to add?
No comments at this time, thank you.
Okay, any questions, comments from council? Yes, Councilmember Wells.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. If this is off topic, please let me know. I wanted to talk about the last work session for just for a second, for P&Z. I want to first compliment all of the P&Z commissioners. I'm sure all of you saw the last work session, and there was discussion regarding parking, and there was a commissioner who stated that they couldn't continue the conversation to do away with parking requirements and bring in metering options without some type of work session between a joint work session or some type of direction from council. And I found it to be really interesting at the work session that the majority of the commissioners wanted to not spend so much time tearing apart the parking requirements and looking at every single sentence, but instead wanted to speak to the possibility of metering. And I wanted to say thanks to your department for bringing in those books for the commission, and I actually started listening to one. And so my question is when would be an appropriate time for council to set up a discussion with administration, because the P&Z commission felt like they were kind of stuck to only talk about the code and not some drastic changes.
Yeah, I believe our planning and zoning, or our community development department has another step in that process, and then we were going to do another joint work session in the coming future, similar to the one that we did prior, kind of updating on the planning and zoning priorities and matching them with the council priorities. Next council meeting, we're seeing the introduction tonight of the ordinance for building height, and then we'll bring that ordinance forward for enactment at the next meeting, and that kind of checks a lot of the boxes next to the things we talked about at the prior work session. So we'll be bringing that forward again, probably either as a discussion item or a work session next month or so, I believe. I don't want to speak.
Follow-up question, Madam Mayor? Thank you. Well, the feeling I got from the conversation was we could possibly speed this process up if council gave direction to the commissioners instead of to open that conversation up about paid parking. Is that kind of what?
We could place it as a discussion item in the next meeting if you'd like.
It would have to be on an agenda to discuss.
Yeah, I think that would be a great direction from council to add that as a discussion item.
Or does that sound okay to discuss it? Okay.
Yep, I'll have to, if not the next one, the one after, just to confirm with our community development director that he will be here to have that conversation, because I do know he's traveling, but you'll be here in July?
July 14th.
Yes, he'll be here. Okay. Is that cool with you?
Yeah.
Ask and he shall appear.
Just crazy. But yeah, we can discuss it.
Great, perfect.
And
I think that's a great idea.
agree or not agree.
Thank you. Thank you.
Any other questions, discussions? I don't see any. So that brings us to the city clerk report. And what do you want to report, Mr. City Clerk?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. The city clerk report is a two-pager, mostly
It is.
by the clerk's office staff. Karen Corrigan went to Boston recently for OpenGov training on permitting and licensing, and Jody went to Tacoma for professional development too, and we also received the Mount Marathon Awards from our sister city of Obihiro, Japan. There's a photo of them in the packet, and they're also on display on the table there, just one example of each different graphic. They're really pretty. And I'll turn it over to Jody if she has anything to share from Tacoma.
I spent a week there in Tacoma. The weather was amazing. So fortunately they let us step out on breaks every once in a while to enjoy the sunshine. But I had a lot of classes I attended, and I'm hoping to bring the stuff I've learned back and continue it here.
Okay. That's all you
from
got?
us.
Any questions for the clerk? All right. Moving along, we have no attorney reports, so I guess that brings us to presentations, and we have a presentation from KPEDD. And if you want to come up and just reintroduce yourself to everybody, if you would, please.
Good evening. Okay. Thank you, Mayor McClure. Thank you, Council, for having me. Oh, thank you so much. Thank you, Chris, for all of your work behind the scenes. I appreciate you. And thank you to the staff, Jason and Kat, so much for the communication and the partnerships that we've had. So my name is Cassidy Cameron, and I'm the Executive Director for KPEDD, or the Kenai Peninsula Economic Development District. And we're located in Kenai. However, we are charged with the economic development goals for the entire borough and the region. I have been in this role for just about 16 months. The first year I took as kind of a focus and a foundation year to understand all of the roles that KPEDD plays and all of the many issues and challenges and projects that the entire borough has. And then this year we've taken kind of the bull by the horn, so to speak, and tried to put some of our strategies and ideas and concepts in place. And so I'm happy to be here, and I'm happy to be in Seward and feel your guys' sense of community, which is huge here, and it always has been since I've worked in KPEDD and in economic development, but I'm also a recovering city manager from Seldovia, so I also very much appreciate coastal Alaska as well as rural Alaskan communities.
Can you switch the thing and make sure? I thought I turned it on the side.
Oh,
switch it the other way. Maybe it's.
Oh, green
maybe it was
means go.
already.
Got it. Beautiful. Okay, so KPEDD is a nonprofit regional economic development organization. We're non-governmental. However, we do receive federal and borough funds for some of our funding projects. We have a business incubator center that we also collect rents and help small burgeoning businesses kind of get built up and have resources and then hopefully fly the coop in a successful way, so to speak. We're one of the 4 federally recognized EDDs in the state of Alaska, and we're also one of the 9 ARDers that are state recognized and in statute. We've been around since 1988, so we've been doing this for a few years, and we flow, we go with the flow. We're flexible, but we also try to adhere and understand and align with all of the industry and business developments that the borough is going through. So we've seen oil and gas during the booming years, but then we've also seen the changes in our major industries as well as the emerging industries, which is exciting to see and be a part of. The nuts and bolts is that I try to keep things simple. We're working on economic resilience. So we've learned, especially through COVID, that there's financial and fiscal impacts that happen in our economies. We try to identify what those impacts are and then try to put together resources and tools for not just small businesses, but organizations, nonprofits, our tribal partners, our municipalities on how to curb the shocks of those economic impacts if and when they'll come. One big priority for us is stakeholder engagement. So we are a network of networks. We try to make sure that we are a conduit amongst all of our regional partners and industries, and we understand that stakeholder engagement is very important in our success and our futures. Workforce development. This is something that I hold very close to my heart for the last few years. We have identified that there's a population decrease in many of our communities and most of our state. We want to understand what that out-migration is, what it consists of, and then develop systems in place that will either retain people to be here or also youth and generations that are younger than myself and also around my kids' age to have skills and opportunities in workforce and in relevant industries that will take them further, but they can remain close to home or even in the home. We recognize that, you know, all of us are very diverse. The Kenai Peninsula is an incredibly diverse economy, and we identify and we try to understand those diversifications, and then we try to be a catalyst and make sure that those different unique aspects of our economy are supported, and we try to make sure that the industries and businesses that are around us have what they need to succeed. One tool, well, many tools that we've done this last year is identify the need for data, relevant data, community-specific data, industry data that is unique to the Kenai Peninsula, not just as a broad brush, but also Seward specifically, Homer, Seward, Kenai, Soldotna, all of our municipalities, but then all of the rural areas as well. So we have procured contracts with several software companies that provide these data sets for us, and we're able to filter and layer based on whatever those data software programs allow us to. But we can start to peel back those layers of our economy and what makes our communities tick, whether it's childcare or housing, transportation needs, tourism, what are our thriving industries, what are our gaps, what trends can we identify. So we're really going through a tremendous amount of data. We are working closely with an economist that I can give him a call and say, hey, can I get a housing profile for Seward, and a week later he'll bring me a bunch of census data as well as some of our ArcGIS and our geospatial data that he can start to tell that story. And what we're recognizing is that when a municipality, for instance, is pursuing a grant and needs to have some data aspects to that grant application or to their project, we're wanting to provide that for them in a way that's going to strengthen that application and strengthen their opportunity for funding resources for infrastructure, social development, housing, whatever project it is, but we want to be kind of a catalyst in that. And we're recognizing as well that a lot of the data stories that are out there or the reports are Alaska as a whole. And having it be specific to Seward or the Kenai Peninsula Borough is able to strengthen that story, strengthen our ability to understand what the data set is and what it's telling us, and then also be able to make decisions based on that and strategies. This is one of the profiles that we're able to pull from our Esri model that we have, and this is just and this is city limits. I do want to make these comments that it is just city limits, Seward city limit proper, but you can see that, you know, it's a high level of walkability in this community. Some people are riding their bikes to work. This is your industry overview where you can see what your labor force is consisted of and what the economic demographics are of this. This is one snippet, and we're able to kind of filter or apply different levers to some of this data to get you what you want. And I met with Kat and Jason today, and if there's anything specific that you're looking for, please give us a call, because more than likely we'll be able to scratch it up for you and provide some data that may help you with whatever query you're looking for. Earlier this year, we host the Industry Overview Forum, which is our annual industry economic forum. We rotate the communities. Next year it is in Seward, so I think we were in Seward pre-pandemic. It was several years ago. But this next year, we're looking forward to being in Seward and having this event. It's in April. But During that event, our economist put together he did a deep dive into state of the economy for the Kenai Peninsula Borough. And this one I keep going back to this slide because it's showing a number of things. I like to, is there a laser on this? No laser. So I'd like to point out, for instance, in Homer. Homer is growing, and there's a lot of development there, but it's also, the cost of living there is quite a bit higher than a lot of our places. But if we look at Homer City, it's growing at that 2.3% change population growth. If we go right outside of Homer, there's Anchor Point, and if you look at Anchor Point, it's growing at 12%. So what we've identified is that people are building and moving outside of the city limits and outside of Homer proper, and then they're commuting to work. And I have a hunch, and I know that this is also happening here, is that your guys' population growth, where I look at Seward and it's down by 8%, and that just was like, is that really accurate? And so I had to ask the economist, I'm like, can you really double check that figure? And he says, yes, that's what it is. After talking to Jason and Kat, it does feel like maybe there's some pushing and pulling that's going on with your guys' resident population, and we're trying to understand what that is. We're trying to understand what the reasons are, and then we're trying to put together, we're not here to say, here, do this, and this is what you're going to do. Oops, sorry. I'm almost done. So what we want to do is understand what that increase or decrease is, what are the elements that are around that, and then try to figure out ways that we can tackle that problem to increase the quality of life. So that's one of the data sets that we're looking at right now is why are the population of our communities fluctuating, and what are areas that we can do to put supports and systems in to support either just stabilize it or build more housing or increase the quality of education or transportation or childcare. So all of those things is what is bubbling up from when we're looking at the data. Speaking of data, we also do the Comprehensive Economic Development Strategy. It's a mouthful. We like to call it the CEDS. It's a 5-year document. And we use this as a instrument to identify economic development projects throughout the region. And we're in our 5th year of our most recent CEDS, and we're going into our new rewrite, and our outreach and engagement has kicked off last month, and we're going to be doing surveys and outreach and engagement events here in Seward. We're scheduling that for probably early fall, which is a better time for most of us. And then we will be asking you, what is your quality of life? What's your values? What is important to Seward? And see how that, we're going to fit that into the regional overview and see how that settles out. And my hunch is that you guys have very similar needs and priorities as many of our other communities. The things that we're seeing ad nauseum is housing, childcare, quality of education, cost of living, all of those things, cost of energy. We're trying to identify those, and then we could put together ways to pursue funding, pursue project development, and help communities use this as a tool when they're applying for funds as well. If you can align a project within our CEDS, you can typically score higher in that project evaluation. This is our current, our overarching goal is our quality of life, and then we had technology, telecommunications, workforce and human capital, business, climate and entrepreneurship, infrastructure, and then also our relationship and partnership building. So In your packet, you should have this. If you scan this, it'll take you to a survey, and you can go through this Mentimeter survey that is a quality of living survey. Kat also provided the comp plan that you guys just are in the midst of, and you guys did very similar things at a Seward level. So similar questions, but we're able to glean a lot of valuable information from that comp plan, but then also tie it into what our SWOT analysis is and what our regional goals look like. And I want to thank you for your time, and apologies for going over, but
I'm not sure we have this in our packet, do we?
It's not in the packet, but we'll upload it to
Okay.
legislative history and send it out to
I
you.
was just searching there, so yeah, I had not seen that, but we would like to have that. There's time for questions, actually. Councilmember Barlow.
I only got a question, so.
okay.
I'll have to call you at a later date, because I have a ton.
Awesome.
Because I love data. And by the way, is a lot of that data online available to the public?
Our reports are on there, yes.
Okay.
So we've done a few profile reports, and we've done an economic analysis, and then our ESRI and our data dashboards will be up. They're still in development.
Oh, nice.
So I have we're a team of 2, so it's me and I'm 50% of our staff.
Yeah. Well, I'm sure you saw the GDP for Alaska recently. That data was pretty discouraging. I think we're the bottom 3 in the country for the state. But Seward is obviously, in some ways, a booming town, and I'm not going to go on and on here, but it's really interesting that we're negative 8%. But I think part of it, from my perspective, is the fact that we've increased tourism at the expense of some other winter economic opportunities. And I don't know the answer to that. I don't think anybody does. Maybe you have a better answer than anybody. But one thing that's interesting about tourism too, and I don't know if your data can get into that, but it's the value of a tourist. So, for instance, a independent traveler versus a boutique cruise ship versus a large cruise ship that has 6,000 or 7,000 that are coming in next year. What do those individual tourists bring to the city of Seward? And how can we target the more valuable, or the ones that are more valuable to us in terms of both money and culture? And I don't know if that's your purview, and then who do you work with within the city to kind of try to filter through those and dig down into those?
Jason.
Yeah.
He's also on our board, so
Yeah.
I got it on speed dial.
Yeah.
But that's a great point, is trying to start to peel back those
Yeah.
layers, right? You know that tourism's a huge piece of your industry and your economy, and you know that you need tourism to a certain level, but trying to understand what those makeup is and the demographic. We're able to pull some trend analysis, and one of our data providers is Datify, which is what the Seward Chamber utilizes, and we have a contract with them, and it's a statistical analysis for visitors and for tourism. So we're able to identify where they're coming from, essentially, to a small slice of your pie, not the whole pie. But we're able to identify, how many days they're spending, where are they spending their times. There's points of interest that are identified within this geo-fence for Seward, and then we can see, kind of start to weave together some trends. Now, there's not somebody there that's counting, and there's no tracking, but we're able to identify those trends a little bit more than, say, without, and we're able to specify it for Seward. Now, I love your first point about a year-round, right? Your year-round business. What's your year-round economy, and how can you bolster that? How can you enrich that? And that's something that I think is really important for Seward and for the rest of our peninsula. Is I love Alaskan summers. I love them. I do think that tourism is incredibly important and critical and essential. But I also think that this is a moment that we recognize fall, winter, and spring and what those year-round industries are looking like. How can we increase the attractiveness of year-round markets, shoulder seasons, but not just limit it to tourism. So education, skills, training. I mean, you guys have a huge asset here with AvTech, right? How can we make sure that those students that are attending AvTech also are aware that once they finish their program, what opportunities do they have right here in Seward? And how can we get them plugged into that? How can we get them plugged into housing here in Seward, right? How do we get them into the mix beyond just getting those certifications? And those are the types of questions and also considerations that I think about all the time. As I am myself, I have 3 kids. I would love for them to stay on the peninsula and work and thrive and grow up here with their whatever choice they go. But I would like to see them here contributing to their communities, and I always come back to that. How can we do that? And how can we make sure that generations have that opportunity in a way that's not just limiting them to 3 months a year? So those are the data sets that I'm also very interested in, and that is something that I am just really, I think that's a huge part of our puzzle. The tourism thing, it's already kind of set. It's going. It's happening. What's happening in the other parts of the year that we can make sure that are contributing just as much or more to making this an attractive place, so that maybe there's a couple of tourists that are visiting here and they think, oh, I could live here, and then they relocate here. So.
Thank you. Thank you. Any other questions? Well, thank you very much for all you do. KPEDD's been useful all the way along, so.
Well, we try to do a bunch, but we try to also make sure that it's valuable and relevant. So please consider us a partner, and thank you for having me.
Thank you. Thank you. Okay, next, we have one resolution, Resolution 2025-059. Mr. Clerk, would you please read that?
Resolution 2025-059, approving an update to the 2025 City of Seward Community Library and Museum fee schedule.
And you'll find that on page 41. I'd like a motion to approve in a second, please.
I move for the approval of Resolution 2025-059.
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Madam City Clerk?
Thank you, Madam Mayor. We have a lot of small cost things that happen at the library, like copies in black and white or color, faxes, scans, even the museum admission rate. And as we've also seen a shift away from people carrying cash, the library wanted to find a way to accept credit card payments for these small items, to not prohibit anybody from utilizing them, but not also have the city paying for that credit card processing fee, because with a 25-cent piece of paper, if we accepted credit cards for it, we would be paying more for the piece of paper at the end of the day. So we're updating the library fees to include a credit card processing fee if a credit card is utilized. We also took that opportunity as we were adjusting the library fees to add a few items that we had heard a lot of requests from for people as they were visiting the museum and library, including stickers, tote bags, hoodies, and things like that, as a bit of swag for a really awesome, wonderful, beautiful library. And we figured it would be a good opportunity to just wrap them all into one and get those on the fee schedule.
Okay. Any questions, concerns, discussion? Councilmember Barnwell.
Who's doing the designs for the swag?
Oh, that's a good question. I think it's just the library logo, maybe? I'm not sure off the top of my head.
Haven't seen
but if anybody out there has a really cool t-shirt swag and they want to send it in about the library, I'd love one that's colored the way the library is colored. That would be cool.
Councilmember Werner.
Thank you, Mayor McClure. I am curious, are there any other city departments that are passing on the credit card fees to the consumer?
Yes, our Parks and Rec department does that with campsite rentals and many of the items in there. And then I believe our building department does as well. We do not for utilities. So it's been a process that we've been adopting in many of our departments, but we also have a unique credit card accepting process in all of our departments, because one day credit cards became popular and people started using them, and all of our departments wanted to start accepting them, but they all chose different payment processors at that time. So we're kind of in a journey to unify all of our payment processors and get things all squared away. So one at a time, we've been adding that onto the fee schedule. You saw, I think, 1 or 2 departments this past year, and then over time we'll get to a really cohesive utilization of that.
Thank you.
Okay, other questions? Sounds good. Okay, Mr. Clerk, I guess we're ready to vote.
Voting on the approval of Resolution 2025-059. Barnwell?
Yes.
Wells?
Yes.
Finch?
Yes.
Osenga?
Yes.
Warner?
Yes.
Kreitz?
Yes.
And Mayor McClure.
Yes.
That resolution has been approved.
Okay, so next on the agenda is Resolution 2025-060, which is amending the city clerk's employment agreement, and we're going to address that after the executive session. When we come back from executive session, we'll introduce that and discuss and vote at that time. So, the next item is other new business, discussing the developer reimbursement program application process, which is on page 53. And who wants to lead this? Mr. Bigley.
I will take that one.
Okay.
Good evening. Yeah, so as you guys know, we do have the developer reimbursement program, and I would say that Ms. Casagrande was correct in the fact that it is a program that is in process, and we've always changed it along the way as we needed to what makes most sense for us. And currently we're running into a little bit of a problem because the way that the code says it is, the code says we have to follow it, is that right now it is closed because just due to lack of funds, and it says within that we can do that when the funding is out. It's like a revolving loan. So when the funds are out, we close it and the funds come back in. But really the current problem is that code says that when we do have it open, a developer will apply, and once they give that information to the clerk, once the clerk gives it to administration, they have 3 weeks to bring that before council, and the city manager needs to make a recommendation to whether or not to approve it and how much to approve that project up to 50%. So there's a couple of problems, is that we've had, I think, 3 or 4 people inquire about the developer reimbursement program, but it would be really helpful if we could change the code so that way we can actually see who's out there in advance while the program is still closed, and because otherwise we don't really know when to open it. And also too, it's not a very open process when the city manager is the one that has the ultimate power in that. And so what we'd like to do is bring something back to you where we can change the code and we can actually accept applications while it's closed, and then we would also make it so that we can have a work session with council, where we can hear from developers, hear about their projects, and that way it's more of an open decision-making process, and that way it aligns more with the priorities of what you guys want to do, and not necessarily a first come, first serve type of situation. So I think so kind of in layman's terms, that's what this paper says right here. And so we'd like to discuss this with you, but also just ask permission if we could bring something back to you where we could kind of make that process as I just stated.
Okay, so you would be bringing back something for us to vote on?
Yes. And it would be an ordinance because it would require a code change.
Do we want a work session before that, or would that be, if you brought that back, we could discuss then and modify it?
Yeah, I think it's fairly simple. What we want to do is you just want to have it so that they can apply before, while it's still closed.
It sounds
and then we can have an open work session environment when we can hear from those developers. You guys can hear from them just as we can. And then we can, it says we can give up to 50%, but as this is kind of a diminishing fund over time, we're eventually going to be in a place where we won't be able to fund everyone at 50%. And it might make sense if we have 4 people applying that we're like, well, actually, these 2 aren't really aligned with what we want to do, so we're going to fund you 2 guys at 50%, or maybe you fund all 4 at 30%, or something like that if there's not enough funds, but it would just be a little bit more open process that way.
So the question is, should they bring something back to us as an ordinance and we can discuss and vote?
Can I just have one question, if I can?
Vice Mayor.
Thank you. You said 3 weeks, but I would just want to clarify, is it 3 regularly scheduled council meetings, not 3 weeks?
Yeah, it's 3 regularly scheduled council meetings.
So that's
A month and a half.
a month and a half, so that's like 45, 50 days. So basically what we would do if to change that, we would be able to take an application and then hold on to it for a half a year. And I guess what I'm trying to get at is how much are we expecting information, how much information are we expecting to have? And then in half a year's time, are we going to look at it and say, this amount or that amount, or is that going to change? Or, you know what I'm getting at is that in a half year's time, a lot of things can change.
Right.
So,
and I think my ideal is that we do know that with the timelines with our current participants, we do know about that we are going to have a significant amount of money coming back in. And so I do think that even just in the fall, after the summer's over, we can have another discussion and saying like, hey, once we get this changed, and we can have the interested developers put in for an application, and we can at least say, hey, here's who we have that's in the queue that's interested, here's the money that we have back now, here's about what we have, and it'll be a very transparent process, and then when we officially open back up, then we can put those officially in the queue. Yeah.
Answer. Councilmember Finch.
Thank you, Member. Because, I'd like to see it where we can spread it out instead of one person gets it and it shuts the whole program down. We've had numerous contractors and stuff trying to get into it, and it's closed because all the money went in one direction. Spread it out.
Yeah, this will give us the opportunity to do that, to see what options and what developers are requesting the funds, and then correlating it to how much funds we have returned to the fund.
Councilmember Pine.
Yeah, a couple things. One, how much money approximately do we have in that revolving fund?
I don't know.
Yeah, I don't know.
Wasn't it like $3 million to begin with?
No. I mean, it's hard to say because I don't know, because it's constantly changing. Like if we get payments back in, that fund amount changes, then we just put some of that fund back out for the roads and electric out there. So right now I don't have a tally in my head because it is a thing, like if we get another payment in, which finance could get, that changes the amount in there right now. So I couldn't tell you honestly off the top of my head right now.
So I guess the question would be, it would be nice to somehow make that a little more consistent for everyone involved, so that we knew how much was in there and then when and how we might replenish that, so that the developers have a little bit more planning capabilities.
Yep.
And then the other thing that would be nice for us is to have some sort of matrix, or is it a word, or some sort of checklist for what are our goals. How do we score these applications, and so that they fit the needs for what we've identified, either through the comprehensive plan or however we identify it, so that we can put a value on it. And then, because otherwise it might become political, or people are, it might just get a little ugly, I think. That's my 2 cents.
Okay, anyone else? Okay, so we're in agreement that they should bring back an ordinance, and then we can discuss and modify and vote on it.
Thank you.
All head nods.
Okay, thank you, appreciate it.
And just one small note, as of March 31st, we had 1.8 million, but that adjusts and has changed since we put some out, but that was the last audited amount.
Okay. All right. That was our last item, and we have in informational items a very nice discussion about Flag Day that Councilmember Finch supplied. You'll find that on page 55, and there's some pictures that were taken during the Memorial Day program out at the cemetery. And our next council meeting would be July 14th at 7 p.m. And this brings us to citizen comments. This is the 5-minute per person comment time, and there's no sign up for this. You can just raise your hand and come on up. Come on up.
Christine Casagrande, Inside City Limits. Thank you for the discussion on the application process. And if I could just plant another bug in everyone's ear, rewind however many years ago when the developer reimbursement program was only a dream. And Martha Fleming and Cindy Eklund were on the planning and zoning, and we were at a town hall meeting, and it became Martha's fund because she had this idea, if we could just come up with X amount of dollars and then somehow provide that money to help developers reimburse, so here we are. Part of Martha's fund original plan was for that fund to reimburse itself as well. And some of the ideas that we had is maybe the property tax for 5 to 10 years for any new lot that comes online can go back into the fund. Maybe the sewer, water, electric, whatever utilities they connect to for 5 years can go back to that fund. So that fund is always sustaining itself. And speaking of, maybe one day in the very near future, we may have all of our utilities extended to all the vacant lots. What we're running into now is building affordable homes at the price of $400 per square foot to build new. It's not affordable. And if we can somehow, through the city, encourage that fund to keep on growing, maybe it can go from a utilities extension reimbursement to a builder's reimbursement where, hey, we have this money, if you build an affordable home that's under X amount of dollars per square foot, we have this funding that we will help reimburse you. And maybe that's a way that we can encourage, getting more workforce here in town, getting more younger families that can afford housing. So that was just some brainstorming that I also had. I think that this program is a really beautiful program. It's just that it kind of started, and then the conversations and how it developed ended, but the program kept on going, and I feel like there's a lot more that we can do to really develop this program. We're way ahead of other communities. I have gone to Juneau and I've gone to DC, and every time I speak to our representatives, they're like, wow, Seward's doing that to encourage housing, so we're shining, and we need to keep on shining and find a way to fund this program and keep it going. Thank you.
Thank you, Lisa. Anyone else? Come on up.
Hi, sorry, I forgot to mention that also the road closures are in the race guide.
Give your name.
Oh, I'm sorry, Amanda Sweeting, outside city limits, the chamber.
Right.
Sorry about that. Yeah, road closures are in the race guide as well and online. I'll also be going down to businesses to chat with them and just give them a little heads up. It's the same as last year. We are putting a Maker's Lot. It's going to be the Ranting Raven Maker's Lot. It's right next to Ranting Raven. And that will help encourage people to walk through the downtown businesses to reach more vendor spaces. And yeah, I just want to make sure you guys know about the Maker's Lot as well, so you can go visit some of the Seward makers and craftsmen people. Yeah, thank you.
Okay, thank you. Anyone else? Okay, I'll bring it back to council and administration comments and responses to citizen comments. Madam City Manager.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. My main thing, I did say a number on the record that I am not 100% certain on for that 1.8 million, so I do not want that to be taken as 100% certitude because I looked it up on my phone and I think I was on the wrong line. But with that, I want to thank the Chamber and the Mount Marathon Committee and everybody for all of their hard work. I know every year the day comes a lot quicker, so I have to go practice running real quick. Other than that, no, thanks to everybody and a happy 4th of July holiday.
Okay, Mr. Bickling.
No comments, thank you. Hope everyone has a happy 4th of July.
Okay, Councilmember Kreitz, I'll start with you.
No, I wanted to thank Cassidy for the presentation. That was good information. Thank you.
Okay, Councilmember Warner.
Thank you, Mayor McClure. I also want to thank Cassidy for coming in person to Seward to give a presentation on KPEDD. Definitely appreciate that. Also want to give a shout out to our library and their summer reading program. That's been a really robust program, and it's been fun to watch the community continue to meet our reading minutes and surpass our goals multiple times. And looking forward to 4th of July. Yeah.
Okay. Councilmember Finch.
Thank you. Thank you for the presentation. I'd like to see the DRP continue to grow to get that cost of $400 square foot. It's just crazy. We've got to evaluate, see what that cost is, what's driving that cost up, because just a few years ago it was $280 a square foot. Everybody be safe. 4th of July is on a Friday. Anybody who's been here for a while knows that the Friday and Saturday 4th of July are a little more hectic. Hope the race committee gets street cones with no parking up past the hospital all the way up the valley so it doesn't congest the neighborhood like it's been doing. But does everybody have a safe 4th of July?
Okay, thank you. Councilmember Barnwell.
Yeah, great presentation with KPEDD. Thank you very much. I agree, data is just everything. We need to have that information to make intelligent decisions. So thank you. Also, oh, my brain's working really well today after my 5 hours of sleep in the car last night in Girdwood.
You don't want to know.
Yeah, sorry, mechanical breakdown, so it's not.
The brain or the car?
Both.
Biological breakdowns. Good luck on 4th of July. Be careful out there, especially runners. Be careful. My daughters run all the time, and I'm just petrified of that race always. Even though I love it, it's a great race. Thank you, Chamber, for all the work you guys do. I know you guys are totally crazy right now. Good luck, and I think that's it. Thanks.
Okay, Councilmember Wells.
Thank you, Madam Mayor. As I stated earlier, to the community development, the recommendation on the books, such as missing middle housing and high cost of free parking, I started high cost of free parking last night, and I just want you to know that if you have Spotify, you can find a 50-minute version instead of the 4-hour version. It was extremely, it's great. So, and I wanted to thank the P&Z commissioners at the last meetings who stood up and pushed through and didn't kick the can down regarding parking. That's a great thing for our community, and so I was really happy to see that. So thank you very much, and everybody have a great week.
Okay, Vice Mayor.
I'd just like to say thank you to KPEDD for your presentation, appreciate it, and everyone please have a safe and fun 4th of July.
Wow. Well, I have so much to say, I better cut it short, I guess. Thanks, Cassidy, for coming. I wanted to thank the folks that came out for the Solstice Cemetery tour late Saturday night. It was fun. Race. She's still trying to beat my fastest time, so we'll see. We'll let you know at the next meeting how that goes, but I'm one of the ones that broke a bone in a race, getting hit by a rock and broke a collarbone in 1 year, so it does happen up there, and it's never pleasant getting down with a broken collarbone, so be careful, everyone who's racing. And also just a warning of safety for people in town, because I was just driving here downtown and I had someone just walk right out in front of me on the main street there. People must think it's just a thoroughfare. These aren't locals, they walk right in front of my car. It's a good thing I'm a safe driver, but just be very cautious, everyone, especially with kids. On a sad note, I'm not sure if the public knows completely, but Margaret Anderson passed away last Wednesday in Seattle. I think a lot of people know this, and we will be having a memorial proclamation eventually for her, and there'll be more information. She was a dear friend. And with that, we need to go into executive session. I want to ask, do we need a break before that? Okay, so what if we take a short, like a 5-minute break, we'll come back, and then we'll go into executive session. I'll say all the words that gets everybody out of here except for us, okay? 5-minute break.
Thanks, Christie.
Okay, so we are back on the air.
Okay. All right, I'm going to reconvene the meeting. It is now 8:05, and I'm going to move to go into executive session for the annual evaluation of the city clerk, and I believe we have to vote on that, right?
That is correct.
So I ask for a second to that motion.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor of going into executive session for the annual evaluation of the city clerk, would you please say aye?
Aye.
Oh, no, can we do it that way, or do we have to have a roll call?
That way's fine.
Okay. And so, at this executive session, we'll have the clerk and the city manager and the deputy city manager.
Yes, they are invited to stay if they
And
so
we have-
choose.
And we have cleared the council chambers, so I will gavel us out of the actual meeting now, and we will return.
we are back on the air.
We're going to reconvene this meeting of the City Council. It is now 8:28, and we've just come out of executive session. And we are now going to deal with Resolution 2025-060. Mr. Clerk, would you please read the title and all that into the record?
Resolution 2025-060, approving amendment number 2 to the employment agreement with the city clerk.
Okay, and you'll find this on page 47 of the packet. I'd need a motion to approve and a second, please.
I move for the approval of 2025-060.
I'll second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. We have had discussion of this during the executive session. Are there any comments, questions from council, or are we ready to vote? I believe we're ready to vote, Mr. Clerk.
Voting on the approval of Resolution 2025-060. Warner?
Yes?
Barnwell?
Yes.
Wells?
Yes.
Kreitz?
Yes.
Finch?
Yes.
Osenga?
Yes.
And Mayor McClure.
Yes.
That resolution has been approved.
Okay, and that was our last item of business, and I will now adjourn the meeting at 8:30 PM.